I'm going to go to Cherise now. She's the Chief Executive Officer of the Pretrial Justice Institute. And at POLITCO, we've had a lot of conversations around criminal justice reform. And what you realize is as you start to scratch the surface, there are just so many pieces, there's so many moving parts. And I think what you work on is just so interesting, and that is cash bail. And can you explain to us the problem as you see it?
Yeah, so thanks for having me. It's really broken in two fundamental ways, and it contributes all the way down the pike. Cash bail today keeps poor people, like in Baltimore. A vast majority of people in the Baltimore City Jail are unconvicted people sitting there on low bond amounts they can't meet. And the flip side, the people Alicia's worried about, the rapists, the murderers, they're usually able to post bond.
So how much are we talking about? What's a typical bond?
So in Baltimore, for example, the average bond set is $51,000, and the average income in Baltimore is $26,000.
Wow. So I always thought that this was up to a judge. The judge can just kind of look and say, okay, you look like you're a flight risk. We're going to set really high amount for you. You over here look for, but what I hear from you is that's not really the case.
No, in most of the country, it's sort of justice by geography. It depends on the courtroom you're in. It depends on the county you get arrested in. Recently, again, in Baltimore, a guy got a $275,000 bond, and one of the other guys in the car got a $50,000 bond. Same charges. So there's really no rhyme or reason to the setting of these money bonds. It's a discretion that's sort of run amok.
And how does that connect to this broader problem of incarceration?
Well, really, pretrial detention, which is what we call this when you're stuck in jail on a low bond you can't meet. Pretrial detention is really the pipeline to mass incarceration. More people will serve time in a pretrial status than will ever serve time upon conviction.
And what happens to them? I mean, it's just a day or two, or maybe a week?
No, so really it turns out that 3 days really matters. So after that first couple of days, your job gets affected, your family's affected, your housing situation gets destabilized, and then we as a community of practitioners spend time trying to sort of rehabilitate and put back together people's lives that we've disrupted for nonviolent, low-level offenses.
So what's the solution, the concrete solution to this?
It's very easy. Again, this word common sense. We talk about common sense pretrial. You can just eliminate the money bond system completely. If we just did away with it today, tomorrow, we could be using risk assessment to determine whether Adam is safe to release or Van is safe to release. And people come back to court, and they make their court appearances, and they stay out of trouble pending trial. And we can handle those cases in a far more humane and compassionate way.
Well, what's so striking to me is we're having this big conversation about the presidential election, but it's not the president who decides this. Can you talk a bit about which elections actually make a difference in that?
Sure, absolutely. So, in these kinds of situations, your county sheriff is elected, your county commissioners are elected, your county judges are elected, and your district attorney, your district attorneys are elected, and many people don't make it out to their local elections, and these are the elections where your voice really matters, and you should be voting for people based on their sort of compassionate, smart on crime policies.
It's so fascinating to me because every time we have one of these conversations, well, people get really riled up, they jump up at the end and they say, what can I do? And the answer is, you can vote in a lot of different elections, and this is not necessarily a partisan issue. Here's what I think is really fascinating. Cherise told me there is actually a governor who did something about this, who took the boldest step on this issue. Can you tell us who that was?
Sure.
And please don't boo.
So recently, in the last couple of years, New Jersey's governor, maybe you've heard of him, led bail reform in New Jersey. Simply one day, as a result of reading the research, understanding who was in New Jersey jails, which for the most part were poor people of color, and dangerous people were able to get out on money bond. Governor Christie said, we can do better for the citizens of New Jersey. We can be safe, we can be fair, we can be effective, and worked in a bipartisan nature to pass bail reform in New Jersey.
And I gather that one of the things that brought this to his attention was somebody who could not afford the bail was in prison, but much more dangerous people who could afford it were getting out.
Absolutely, absolutely.